The Dr. Muhammad Experience here, talking to you all about the conference on resiliency and success among children of incarcerated parents. For this segment, we're going to be looking specifically at parental incarceration and possibly providing the experience from the words of those children that are directly impacted. Our interviewee today is going to take us on the journey of the experience of having a parent in prison from the vantage point of what advice do we have for the parents themselves? What would the children say to the parents themselves? I'll pass it on over to my interviewee today to introduce himself briefly and jump right into the topic.
My name is Quamiir. I'm 26 years old from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am a child of two formerly incarcerated, one formerly incarcerated parent and one parent who's currently incarcerated, serving a life sentence. Both mom and dad.
What advice would
Right
you
into
have? And I would say, I don't know if you want to start with your mom and kind of give advice to incarcerated mothers, because it is a population that oftentimes is forgotten.
Right.
And I know there are mothers out there that are watching and formerly incarcerated women who are jumping back into being parents. What sort of advice would you have from the experience that you had?
Overall, just thinking about the relationship I have with my mom. I grew up a mama's boy. A lot of, like, my basketball coaches used to call me mama's boy. All types of people who knew me knew that I had like a real strong connection with my mom. But I lost that connection due to her being on drugs and going in and out of prison. And I would say, you know, one of the things that I always reminded my mom, every time like she would come back is, not to be selfish, right? Like, it's not that she's like aiming to be selfish, and I understood that, at a young age. Like, I don't think my mom like intuitively wanted to be selfish. She just really didn't understand how to build a connection, with her kids anymore, who had grown, and built their own success. And I would say, just looking at that, always be mindful of, ways that you can still not say parent, like, because I think, once at some point it's going to feel like, you're doing too much or you're trying too hard. But I think what I would want, and I'm pretty sure like any kid that was missing out on that relationship would want, is, just to know that their mom cared. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that motherly love is different. Like, I can say that confidently still, because, just that checkup, like, call, like, yo, Quad, what's up? You all right? You all right? You good? You need anything? Or even if you can't provide anything, like, just calling me and, let me know, when you're calling me, you're not looking to get something from me, right? Like, it's genuine, and it's coming from a place of, love, and a place that I can trust. Like, I'm not being used or misused, right? I think that was something that I struggled with my mom for a while. And she finally, when I said it to her like in an honest way, like, she finally understood it. And she finally, I feel like, started to understand her role in my life again. Like, you're still my mom. I don't look at you like you're less than me or anything because, I might have some success that you don't have. Like, I still look at you like a mother, and I still, just want, you to act in that way as much as possible.
Mhm. Thank you for that. And then what about advice that you have for incarcerated fathers? Specifically, I'm interested in hearing about your relationship with
Mhm.
your dad, especially you mentioned that he's serving a life sentence, which often can be difficult. We don't talk enough about that in the research.
Mhm.
And so I'm definitely interested in that. And then what advice you would have for incarcerated fathers as well?
For incarcerated fathers, I think my message will be a little bit different, especially if you're a father to like a young boy, young male, because, like, you really play a major role, and your influence is beyond your imagination. Like, I look at my father still like he's my superhero, and he's behind bars. And it's just so much power in knowing that, because again, like, he wasn't there for me my entire life. He was literally locked up. So to still have that perspective and that outlook about him, it just says a lot about that role and that relationship. I built a relationship with my dad through letters, and thank God that he was educated enough to communicate with me in that way. But I just felt so humbled when he did, and when I did read everything that he wrote, it just felt like it was tailor made for me, right? Like, it was the message that I needed to hear. And I think without those messages from fathers, like, a young male will always grow up lost, confused. um I think, like, with a lack of confidence. All of these things I feel like started to, like, change as I built the relationship with my dad. I felt like I was growing more confidence, feeling more secure about the things that I experienced in my life, and just a little bit more open about the challenges that I had to face in growing up. But overall, again, like, my dad just serves as that voice of reason for me. Like, I can lean on him, in my most darkest moments or my toughest times, and trust that his wisdom could be enough to get me through, anything that I'm going through. As bad as it is right now due to COVID-19, like, I can't, just tap in with my dad as much as I was able to. Like, he would call, at least like once a day, but it's still like another reminder, like, dang, like, I really miss talking to my dad. Like, that's like my best friend, like one of my closest confidants, because just knowing, like, the love, right? Like, the amount of trust I can have in a person, who got my best interest at heart. Like, that's like almost everything. I was just talking to my sister yesterday, and we were talking about how, like, we share information, but, like, being like, we had to be mindful, like, certain information not for everybody. And like, it's okay to go share that with my dad and my mom, because we can trust that they genuinely love and care about us, and they want the best for us. And that was, again, like, we feel that, even although, like, or in spite of his incarceration. So, again, it's such a powerful relationship to have. And again, my dad is, like, super positive. Like, he always has, like, a positive outlook on things. So even when I think he might go left, like, when people say go left, meaning, like, go the wrong way with me, because that's how I'm thinking, he always find a way to bring me back, to think, in a more positive way. And again, I think that's due to his wisdom. I think that's due to what he had to experience growing up as a young boy, because nobody really can teach a boy how to become a man, like a man, clearly. So it's just that type of relationship is just can't even, like, define how powerful it is. It's
Wow.
amazing
Wow.
and beautiful too.
Yeah, it definitely sounds beautiful. And it's a story that's often not talked about, in terms of the success. So, what sort of things has your dad motivated you to do on in the free world, knowing that he's incarcerated? What are the ways that you're using his motivation, his strength, and his positivity to manifest and do real things in your life?
So the first thing I did was, went to school, went to college, community college, and graduated from community college and transferred to Howard University.
Okay.
Yep, and uh, met amazing people, obviously, at Howard. Dr. Muhammad, shout out to you. Um, After Howard, well, during Howard, I should say, before I even came to Howard, I went to the U.S. Supreme Court of Justice, right? And that was my first opportunity to ever travel to D.C., which was encouraged by my dad case. He needed support. A lot of my family wasn't able to support him. But again, like, this was the time that we had a relationship, and he, was keeping me in the loop with everything that was going on. So I was able to travel out there with his lawyers at the time, were Stanford law professors and Stanford students who were working on his case. So like just having that experience has like motivated me and inspired me to understand law, understand criminal law, and want to make a difference. Like not just for my dad or just for my own family, but just in the world period. Like I felt so small in that courtroom that I was like, yo, I can never go back inside of a courtroom like that and not have any type of confidence or, feel like I could, do anything. Like I felt powerless, like literally. So I went, back to my community and I just started, thinking about ways that I can still, use my power, use my influence. And I started creating petitions. I became really good at that. Like we had over 1,700 signatures to get or to sign for like the release of my father. I also, used those skills in college. I was passionate about getting tobacco products off of college campuses. And because tobacco companies targeted Black communities, and I was at a HBCU, it was like, like one of the most, how can I say, like traumatizing things to see and witness, like how Black people didn't even realize that they were targeted from tobacco companies. So I put together a petition and I got all of the student body at Howard to sign the petition so that they can, have a tobacco-free campus. But again, that was due to me learning how to, put together petitions on change.org to support causes and things that I'm passionate about. Also, from like just understanding how to I would say raise money. My dad didn't have a lawyer, so I felt like it was my obligation at the time when I had some spare time in the summer on my summer vacation from college to help my dad get a lawyer. Like I'm like, man, I know how to make money. Even though I didn't always do it the legal way, but I've learned, how to hustle. And I sold platters for like a week straight, just to ensure that my dad had some type of legal representation because Stanford law professors, they did it, they did what they could do at the time when his case was being heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. But of course, they were really just in it for the research and the study. They wasn't, in it for the long term. And it's no fault to them. It's just, it's just a reminder to me, like if the people that really love my dad and care about my dad don't step up and do something about his situation, then nothing will ever be done. So, I just learned really early on in life, same way for myself, like how to just advocate for myself and my family, people I care about and the things that I care about. Otherwise, the world would remain the same. And I don't believe in that. Like I think we all were here or put here for a reason. I think all of our experiences are supposed to shape our reality. And we're not supposed to just accept, the reality that we're born into. Like we're supposed to play a major role in shaping the future so that is a little bit more forgiving. Like I remember meeting President Barack Obama, and he told me like straight up to my face that the difference between himself and I was he grew up in a more forgiving environment due to him growing up in Hawaii and having, that experience versus going straight to Chicago and living in a more urban setting where we know like the policing is different. We know just in general, like violence, all crime, like all those things are different in both like in those two states or cities, I guess you can say. So having that experience, I think, shaped me and made me realize nobody was gonna give me what I want. Like I was gonna have to fight for it, and that's what my dad situation has taught me still to this day. Like I'm fighting. We have 1,700 signatures and counting. I've reached out to so many different political leaders, met with the DA's office, like all at an early age. Like I remember sitting at a conference table with my dad's lawyer. I was like 22 years old and I had a check in my back pocket and I wouldn't sign the check. I didn't even write on the check until he gave me some type of confidence that he was going to do something, right? I knew how hard I had to work to get that money. And I also had a bill at the time to go back to school. So I was like, man, there's no way I'm about to give you this money that I just worked so hard for if you can't give me some type of confidence that you're going to really help and fight for my dad. So just going through those experiences, like it kind of made me feel like I was bossing up in a way because I was so young and I was experiencing life, just so differently than most people my age. But, I was humbled too at the same time because had it not been for my dad, you know, going through some of the things and encouraging me to do these things, I probably wouldn't even had these experiences and feel, and built some of these positive relationships and, the confidence that I gained from it. Like all of that stuff, I think, is amazing now looking back on it, to be honest.
Mhm. Thank you so much for sharing that. As you were speaking, it had me thinking about that statistic that often lingers in the research. And that's kind of what I'm working to dismantle, the negative connotations that are surrounding children of incarcerated parents, but even largely familial incarceration, anybody remotely connected to it in any kind of way. And one of the things that was profound that you mentioned is kind of all of these things, these positive attributes that your father taught you, which is to the contrary of what they think in the research. In fact, they often think that those individuals who are incarcerated for any sort of criminal behaviors are teaching their children those things. In your case, it's pretty unique because your dad doesn't belong there. He didn't commit the crimes that individuals are putting over his head, which we know about 30% of those individuals who are incarcerated fall in that envelope. And oftentimes through battling and fighting and really getting the case heard on a large perspective is a way that many individuals have been released. There are a lot of documentaries that are coming out specifically on that issue and concern, but the environment and communities don't look at it in that way. They look at the location that individuals are in and they stigmatize individuals as a result of that. And you are a testament that those individuals who are incarcerated also are feeding positive energy into the community and teaching you how to be a strong man. And that is very, very unique and very pivotal, but also an individual that deserves to be out in the community. The effect that it sounds that he has on you seems to be an amazing effect that could happen in a larger community because the positive effect he's having on you, you talked about earlier, contributes to the positive effect that you're having on all of these young children in these school environments. And that's not an individual that we want to be behind bars, especially an individual that doesn't deserve to be there. Please continue to fight for your father and continue to be a positive attribute in the community. I'm hoping that more individuals are able to get behind you to be able to help your father be able to come home so that he can be a conduit of success and resilient the way he is for you and himself for larger numbers of individuals. We need more of that in our communities and we need more of that in the world. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure viewers are watching. Is there a way that they can get involved? How can they sign on to any petitions? How can they find you if they're interested in learning more?
Yes, you can check out his petition on two sites. I have my own site that I created called followinggreatness.org, which is a website that I blog on and I talk about his case. I also created a petition for him on change.org, and his name is, it's a petition that says Free Jermaine Trice. His name is spelled Jermaine, and he has the same last name as me, Trice, Trice. Again, it's first and last name Jermaine Trice. And you can just type in Free Jermaine Trice. It'll pop up for change.org. Or you'll also see the blog that I posted on my website. It has like all of his Supreme Court hearings, things that, you know, really shows the injustice in our system, how criminal the justice system feels to, you know, I think when you talk about like people that grow up in impoverished communities that don't have, you know, the financial resources and all of the things that you would need to beat the system, you would see and understand like, wow, it's not so much about whether or not you committed a crime or if you were really charged for a crime that, again, like you did. It's more about, you know, can you find a representation that's willing to fight for you, like all of these other people that get locked up for all these bogus crimes end up, you know, figuring out like, yo, this was bogus. Like Meek Mill, who, again, he was wrong for, you know, a partial of the crimes that he was charged for, but again, like the things that they try to like just throw on top of the charges that you actually are guilty for is crazy. So same thing with my dad. I promise you, if you like look into the case, you will see that my dad is absolutely innocent of the crime that he was charged for. However, if you look, you know, a little bit deeper, he played a small role in what happened, and he's very remorseful for that. So again, he's just looking for another opportunity. He changed his life. He was 19 years old. Both of his co-defendants on this case are free home with their family, and they played a much more larger role in the case. So that's all. It's hard to talk about it without getting, you know, like too passionate and ramped up about it, but it feels wrong, especially because it's been over 26 years. It's crazy.
Thank you so much, Quamiir, for providing that information. I'm sure there are going to be individuals that will reach out to you as well as want to be interested and learn more about the cases. At the conference, there are individuals from across the universities. We have a few law schools, and I do challenge some of those law professors to look into the cases, use it in your classroom to have your law students analyze the cases, just to be able to identify where there is something that can be utilized in the court of law. We will need an entire community to help as it relates to this, but we do know from this particular study that children of incarcerated parents have become very successful with positive relationships with their parents who continue to do positive things behind bars. Thank you so much for your participation, and I look forward to having you on one of the panels during the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.